So first I'm going to go back into here, and we do want to be rendering from our merge here. So I'm going to do a null, do out ice. We'll just do out render. Put that there. We'll put that there, and then I always like to put a render flag there just to make sure that no matter where I click in here, if I'm viewing over here, I don't actually screw up and have my render output or my render flag here as well. So no matter what, my render will be where I want it to be. So I don't really want to be... Actually, hold on one second. What's happening here? Okay, yeah. Cool. Okay. It looks like we might probably have to shrink this down, but I won't know for sure until we start actually rendering. Well, might as well do something about it now. So if we have this viewed, and then we'll look at this. Oh, so I see another issue that we have here. I was wondering why that we have all these points out here, and it's because even though I did make this cull group, I didn't actually blast anything. So we're going to do at, actually we don't need an at, we'll just do group, cull group. And this is doing the opposite, so we're going to do delete not selected. And now this should grow with this. So that looks good. Gonna pop out here. So yeah, let me just, I'm gonna hide all of these things. Gonna hide the water. Okay, sorry, that's the mist that's being created, not the volume that we have inside. So we are good. All right, so first thing that I want to do is I want to set up things so that I can test. We aren't going to do the final camera movement. So we will want a test camera, and we do want a test mantra. So I'm going to just create a mantra. And I'm just going to call this test, because we want to see how these things are all interacting with each other. And then once we have a good test, then we can separate these out into their own individual elements. And then that'll make it much easier to composite later. So this is looking for cam 1. We don't have a cam 1. Gonna go here. Gonna view our water. We're also gonna look at our set geo. And one thing you're gonna notice here in this set geo is that I went in and I altered it a bit. So it's a bit different than what we've been seeing throughout the tutorial, but just now I realized that we do want some good enough topology on here, and before this was just mostly n-gon with one little split down the side. So with more topology now, I think this will have a better reaction to shaders and lighting. So all I did was I went in, and in this box I just increased the divisions, booleaned it, wrote it out, shrank it. So we have our set geo, we have the ice and the water, we have our mist. So first I just want to see ice and water. We want to be relatively close to this. So I'm going to do something like this. And then we're just going to create new camera. Cool. So I'm going to go to out. We're going to go to objects. I never use candidate objects. I always force my objects. So I'm going to say I want the set geo, I want water, and I want ice. So we're going to save. When you go to hit render, usually save before, because that's where most of my crashes come from. Alright, we can see that we have geo here, and that's good. Got a bit of strange reaction on the edges here. So I'm going to just get rid of this facet and just put a normal down. And we're going to work with that and see how it looks. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time trying to shade this bowl And I think the way that we're doing it here should be fine. We can just throw a simple shader on it, and then that'll be that. So what we want to do now is we want to start shading these individual things. So first off, we're just going to go to Material Palette. There's Basic Liquid. Throw that over here. We're going to go to Water. And then in Object Level, we're going to assign it Material. We're going to go to the Matte Net, Basic Liquid. And that gives us some basic liquid. I don't love the color of it. It's a little bit too blue with a hint of purple. It's a strange choice as their default color for basic liquid. So I'm just going to go in here. So for diffuse, over here where it says use base color, I'm going to do something, make it more blue. Take out some of the saturation. Something like that should probably be fine. So we might need to refine this later, but the water is such a simple aspect of this. I just don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time on it. But yeah, I think that's looking like water. One of the main things that we're going to need to do though, is right now we don't have any lights in the scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an environment light. And so this is going to dramatically increase our render times. But it's just going to be how we need to make this look good. So I'm going to input my own HDR that I've taken from the internet, and we will provide a link with where to get HDRs. But now if you put that in there, so this is giving us a lot more interesting lighting. I think that it's a little bit too dark down in the bowl. It's too far in shadow. But other than that, I think it's looking good. We're going to get nice reflections from this. So another thing that I think we'll need to do is we are going to have to make another light. So I'm going to go back to scene view. And then I think what I'll do is we're going to go back a bit. We're going to put it at an angle. Something like this. And then we're going to hold Control and hit Area Light. And then that creates an area light for us. So now if we go back to our render view, we'll probably have to dial this in, but it's a start. Seems kind of bright, I will say that. So we don't need it to be quite this bright. It's exposure. It automatically creates an exposure. I'm not quite sure why. So let's make this an exposure of 2. I think that's going to fill these shadows a bit more. And we might need to increase the environment exposure a little bit, so light intensity of let's just try 3, see what happens. Probably a bit too much. I think 2 will be good. So now we don't have any super dark shadows. We can see what's going on here, and this will be transparent, so more light will be passing through this. Right now it just has a basic shader, but I think that's gonna look good. And then let's just give our set geo some basic shader. I don't want to go with metal. It's going to be too reflective. But we can do something like marble. Let's see what happens with that. Set geo. Marble. Alright. So I think this ends up looking fine. It's got a little bit of sheen to it. It's not too distracting. It's not taking away from the stuff that's happening in this bowl. But it just makes it look a little bit less out of place. So I think now that we have some lighting, our water, at least for now, is good to go. We're going to start dealing with the ice.